Hey everybody, it's me Tim, and I'm getting through a cold right now, so bear with me. But in this video I wanted to go over Cleanspark stock, some recent news here, and we're gonna look at the chart, and then I'm gonna go over Bitcoin and just some things to be aware of there. Now let's get right into this video. So first off, I wanted to show you Bitcoin's chart here, show you a couple of levels to be aware of. One thing is we broke this kind of ascending channel. It might be finding it as a resistance here, and it just so happens to be right where the 50 MA is. We might find resistance here and on the bottom of this channel. It might become a resistance, so be aware of that. And another thing to watch out for is this 20,300 area. We did just test this level. We bounced right off of it. You can see right here, right there. So keep an eye on that level. That's going to be important. If we break that, next up is this 20,000 right here. And this also lays right around the 200 MA. So it's going to be important to see where Bitcoin goes over the next couple of days, how it performs against these moving averages, and if it breaks back over this channel, if it finds resistance and starts curling down and pushing downwards. We're going to look over a couple more Bitcoin things, but first let's look at this Cleanspark news. And as always, I will leave this article down below for you, as well as some stocks and cryptos. Check them out. And if you guys appreciate these videos, consider hitting the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Definitely means a lot to me. But let's look at this news. And Cleanspark broke ground on their 50 megawatt Bitcoin mining expansion, nearly a $16 million expansion with projected completion in late spring, will hold up to 16,000 miners and cements Cleanspark's position along North America's top Bitcoin miners. Once completed, the company's hash rate is expected to reach a high of nearly 9 exahash, 8.7 exahash. And this is right around 2 more exahash than they are currently at. And going into this, the company acquired this campus in August of 2022 as part of its recent bear market growth campaign. As you guys know, Cleanspark has been making a lot of moves in 2022, while other miners have been going bankrupt because they just wouldn't sell their Bitcoin. They decided to just hold everything. Well, Cleanspark's strategy was to sell Bitcoin to further expand their growth. Why hold what you had when you can use what you had to mine even more in the future? Makes sense to me. The only negative with that idea was if Bitcoin were to just start skyrocketing and, they went and sold their Bitcoin. That is the only scenario which that wouldn't have worked. Well, in hindsight, they made the right choices. And I'm going to be very curious about how things go moving forwards. How much of their Bitcoin are they going to hold? I definitely, as many of you, what I want to see is Cleanspark continuing to hold more and more Bitcoin as the time progresses and using less and less of it for their growth. Because I do suspect we are just at the beginning of Bitcoin's uptrend, and we're still very early here. And I'm going to go into some halving details in a second. Definitely interesting stuff. Moving on, the mining fleet here at this site is going to be Antminer S19J Pros and Antminer S19 XP models, which are the newest and most power efficient models to date. And depending on the final number of each model in the mix, the total computing power will be added to Cleanspark's Bitcoin mining capacity, and it'll range from 1.6 exahash to 2.2 exahash, which is a 25 to 34% increase from its current hash rate of 6.5. Now, going into some words from the CEO, Zach Bradford, when we purchased the Washington site in August, we were confident about our ability to quickly expand, adding this 50 megawatts to the existing 36 of infrastructure. This second phase more than doubles the size of the existing operation. We are looking forward to expanding our relationship with the Washington City community and to be able to support the construction jobs that will come with this expansion. Now, we do have some words here from Scott Garrison, the Vice President of Business Development. The community of Washington and the team on site have played a crucial role in the successful deployment of the first phase of the site, which uses mainly low carbon sources of power, employs newest generation tech, and is among the most power efficient and sustainable Bitcoin mining operations. And he continues to say this partnership will go a long way in not only the timely completion of the next phase, but also making it one of the most reliable mining operations. And if you didn't know, Cleanspark mines predominantly with renewable or low carbon power sources and continues to follow a capital management strategy of selling a major portion of its mined Bitcoin to reinvest in growth. This strategy has allowed the company to increase its hash rate from 2.1 exahash in January 2022 to 6.2 exahash in December of 2022, despite a downturn in the crypto market. So let me know what you guys think about this news. And I'm also curious, do you think moving forwards, Cleanspark is going to continue to employ this strategy of taking most of their Bitcoin that they mined and use it for growth? And also, do you prefer this strategy, or do you think they're going to be holding more and more moving forwards? I personally believe we are just in the beginning of the Bitcoin bull run. I could of course be wrong, but just based on cycles and everything else, I'm going to go right into that into a second. But based on cycles, I do think we're at the beginning of Bitcoin's bull run. Now, I will leave this down below for you, but it's Bitcoin's halving clock. And this basically shows you when the next halving will be. And this is just an estimation because it's not a definitive date. It's based on block rewards and when they get to a certain block. But all you really need to know, in my opinion, is we're right around 433 days away. This can definitely fluctuate a small amount, but in general, about 433 days away. About a year and less than 100 days. But if any of you are unfamiliar with Bitcoin's halving, I will leave this down below for you. Definitely goes over a couple interesting things that you should be aware of if you're investing in Bitcoin or even Cleanspark. Now, I did want to pull this article up for you, and I will leave it down below as well. I'm not too worried about the title here, Bitcoin at 150,000. I do think that will eventually happen. But this is what I wanted to focus on here. There have been 3 Bitcoin halving events in the past, 2012, 2016, and 2020. We've got, of course, 2024 coming up, and each one has followed a similar pattern. There is a bottoming out in the Bitcoin market approximately 15 months in advance of the halving. Then a gradual increase in the price of Bitcoin heading into the halving, and then a massive skyrocketing in price afterwards for a period of about 15 months. Right around the halving, we've got about 15 months beforehand and 15 months afterwards of bullish momentum typically. It'll be very interesting to kind of see where things go, being that, you know, the macro environment is just so bad. This is a time that stocks are definitely getting hurt. And as we know, Bitcoin and the stock market have kind of been trading hand in hand in a lot of ways. On good days in the market, we also usually have a good day in Bitcoin. On bad days in the market, we have a bad day in Bitcoin. Now, is Bitcoin controlling the market, or is the market controlling Bitcoin? I'll leave that to interpretation. But one thing I will say is, before the market open, you see a certain run in Bitcoin, and then the market follows that direction. Something interesting to think about. But just based on this, we should be seeing Bitcoin moving up, and you know, apparently it's right in schedule. I thought it was more like a year away from the halving, but it's more like 15 months away from the halving is when we start seeing our recovery. So it's going to be an important couple of months to kind of see where Bitcoin goes. Is it going to follow its typical halving cycles where we start running up in anticipation of the halving about 15 months away? Or do we have a little more pain ahead before we start running up? But let me know what you think about all of this down below in the comments. I've got one more thing to show you. I'm going to go over Cleanspark's chart. I almost forgot. And I definitely love watching patterns because a lot of patterns can play out. But look at this. We had this falling wedge here, a long-standing falling wedge from all the way back in June, back in the summer. And this has just been falling, you know, just creating lower highs and lower lows kind of in this tightening falling wedge pattern. We broke out of this. It made a clear move on the reaction of this breakout. And you'll see that we kind of started in this rising wedge. Once we broke out of this wedge pattern, we have been starting to fall. We didn't find support here at the 50 MA. And it's going to be important to watch this green line, which is the 200 MA. But another thing I think is going to be very important to watch, and this is like right where we're at now, is this previous resistance point that we did have. We had a clear resistance point right around 235. We had it right here. We had it right here. And again right here before we finally broke out of it, bounced off of it as a support, and kept running. See how Cleanspark performs there. The MACD is still falling. The RSI is still falling. We'll see if we find support and start bouncing, and then become more bullish on the MACD, RSI, and on the candles. But if you guys are curious, you know, is it time to get into Cleanspark? Did I miss the run up? You know, this has definitely run quite a bit from this 174 low. I personally believe that Cleanspark is still criminally undervalued, extremely criminally undervalued. And I will quickly go over why for you guys. So looking at the market cap, we're still under a $200 million market cap. And for us to get back to record-breaking quarters, sorry if I'm in a way on this, but for us to get back to record-breaking quarters here, revenue needs to come in at around 41 million. Last couple quarters, we've been in the 20 to 30 million range, just based on Bitcoin's price. I personally think not this earnings, but next earnings, we will be back around this 41 million area. We will be back to record-breaking quarters, meaning we'll be right around 200 million just in revenue per year, and they will flip to profitability. I am very confident in that. And one thing to think about is back here in February, back here in May, they were mining, you know, right around 3 exahash. They are doing double that. So Bitcoin's price can be half what it was during this time. And during this time, Bitcoin's price was right around, you know, 45,000. So just thinking about that, for Bitcoin to be back in the mid 20s, upper 20s, Cleanspark will be back to record-breaking revenues. And as they continue to gain their exahash, continue to mine more Bitcoin day by day, I think they're going to blow these revenues, these previous revenues out of the water, and they will be back to record-breaking quarters in terms of revenue and in terms of a positive EPS, making a profit. But that's how I feel about Cleanspark, and just based on the halving, I personally think everything will come in line beautifully. But as always, guys, do your own research. I've definitely been wrong before, but hopefully you guys got something useful out of this. Definitely appreciate you. Have a good day.